Today we're going to be talking about community, which is a topic that's very close to my heart personally. I came across a quote recently, which I thought was really beautiful by American writer Margaret J. Wheatley. And it goes like, there's no power for change greater than a community discovering what it cares about. And I think the key word in here is community, and the power that lies behind people coming together for a cause and fighting together, uplifting each other and supporting each other. And so I'm really excited to have all of you here today. I remember coming into contact with magazines for the first time. It's all my mother's fault, basically. Mm-hmm. My mother was a magazine addict, and she still is. And she would go and buy these international magazines that you couldn't find. And one of them was Dave's magazine that she bought for me one day, and she brought it home. And I was, for the first time, I looked at these pages, and don't get me wrong, I have a wonderful family. Half of them are white that I grew up with, and they're wonderful, and they made me feel always great and supportive. But all of a sudden, I felt like I saw on these pages, I found, okay, I'm not weird. I belong somewhere, and I belong there. And my reaction was, I need to go where that is. and I think that is why, which is also when I applied for a job, I only applied there. But I think that for me was this sort of the power. That's why I'm in love with magazines, because this is how magazines can touch someone in, a little girl in Austria. You can change her life, looking at these pages, which I think is obviously Samira and Chioma, you both have very, influential positions. Samira, you're the first Black woman at the magazine, running this magazine with so much history. And Chioma, you obviously you have this sort of outlet where you can reach so many people, but do you feel do you go out of your way, do you feel to bring attention to certain communities, or not even as much as that, because we don't necessarily want to say we want to exclude other people, but just do you feel yourself in the way you work and you plan things that you want to reach communities that maybe were not so much a center of attention beforehand?
I always say the same thing. I say, I can't unsee the world. The way I see the world has been shaped by my experiences, right? So naturally, I'm going to, the things that I like and the things that I'm drawn to kind of reflect that. So it's always going to be, so as long as you're bringing in people who have a different perspective or have a way of looking at the world that maybe isn't the sort of the dominant way of looking at the world, then you're always going to get those stories, and I'm most excited about, obviously I'm most excited about telling those stories. And it's great when you can reach, when you can expose an audience a sort of a something that you love to a huge audience. That's what I get most joy out of, and being able to tell those stories is great on a platform as big as Vogue's, and that to me is the most powerful. I guess that's where I feel I can have the most impact, and sort of invite other creators to sort of share that space. That's for me.
Yeah, you agree, Samira?
So
yeah, my mom always taught me to bring all of myself to every room. And for the longest time, I never understood what she meant. And it clicked, sometime I probably think in my early 30s, it clicked for me what that meant. And that means just all of my experiences, my perspective, my identities, and to not feel like I have to check anything at the door in order to be in the room. I can bring all of it with me. And so when I do, that's just how I look at the world. And those are the stories that interest me. I'm never planning an issue or looking at what we're doing on our digital platform in terms of checking a box or trying to be cognizant of, pleasing everybody. These are just the stories that resonate with me and my team. And I think also, there needs to be a shift, towards humanity and luxury can coexist. Yeah. There's always been this idea that you can only, there's luxury over here, and then you can talk about identity and humanity and representation over here, and the two can never intersect. And I believe that is fundamentally flawed and false. And so I think it's just, those are the stories, much like Chioma said, those are the stories that that resonate with me and are interesting, and I just think, you know, I always imagine a dinner party, and do you want a dinner party with a bunch of people that are just the same at the table, or you want difference? You want that's where the magic is. That's where the surprise is and the magic is. And so I just want to be able to have that difference. And also, you know, to a point you spoke about, there's something really beautiful and affirming about, you know, whether you're online or opening a magazine, a print copy of a magazine, and seeing your likeness, seeing someone that you can identify with. There's something very empowering. It's acknowledging that you exist and you matter. And so, you know, I am cognizant of that. And I do want people to know that we at Harper's Bazaar, we see you, we acknowledge you, and you matter, and you are part of this conversation and this community.
I mean, I was very lucky to have mentors who really supported me at the magazine and throughout my career. But I could see that there was some sort of like a guard, an older guard, that was not up for that. They were not up for community. They were not up for, like, you know, you can't talk to this person, you can't talk to this person. And I was like, and actually, Andre, I remember meeting you for the first time, and I was thinking, oh my God, this is Andre Walker. Can I just go up to him and can just talk to him like that, you know, like that. And you were so warm. And I feel like that's the sort of thing that all of you, you know, have in common. Like, I met you, Samira, over Zoom only recently, and I was just DMing you, and you were like, yeah, it's just DMing. I do this all the time. You know, this sort of like human side of things, and this sort of kindness as well, that because ultimately we all need mentors. We all need people who support us, I think. What do we think is the importance of this sort of mentorship? Having a mentor, someone that you can ask questions. Nobody's like, I mean, I didn't even know what a stylist was up until like I was 20 years old, I think. Hence why I studied fashion design. So this sort of like the importance of mentorship and the importance of having someone to go to that is not worried about, that actually has your best interest in mind, that doesn't feel threatened by you. This sort of, I'm putting this in the room to everyone, because I feel like all of you do this automatically.
Mentorship is a two-way street, you know, like I don't know how I would have done anything or gone anywhere or made a decision without having really great mentors. And recently, thanks to you and, you know, being kind of like being part of a mentoring program, I realized how much I get out of being a mentor, because it's like you learn so much as well from you know, other people, and especially kind of like, obviously there's certain things I've learned, but there's so much I can learn from someone who's also just beginning, and I'm so inspired and energized by like younger people and how they approach storytelling or how they look at the world. And like for me, so much of how I understand new things and I'm introduced to new things comes from those kind of conversations that I have with people who probably may or may not consider me to be a mentor. And I think those relationships are invaluable and just allow you to sort of get a better sense of who you are.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I really, you know, because like someone who can help your growth and encourage you to sort of find a better understanding of like how you see the world too, and your vision, sharpen, bring things into focus for you and help you understand what you want to say to the world. You know, sometimes someone else can help you figure that out. And those conversations I've had over the course of my career have been life-changing.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I've been lucky enough to mentor two students, and I can only echo that. It's like it's what you get out of that, and sometimes it's also like when you go in, and then it's that thing of like, one of them I mentored, and I was like, so what do you want from me, kind of thing. What can I give you here? And I realized that I was her assistant. She didn't need me to like get her references. She didn't need me to like, I was like, it's all there. I was like, you're an artist, you're a designer, you're incredible. And I'm just like going to like sort of try and steer and facilitate and like try and create this sort of nicer atmosphere for you to navigate and give you a couple, you know, give you tools to navigate this this industry. And as much as I can, obviously. Yeah, so anyway, so that was about kindness and what the importance of that is. But I also like, so Mischa, you are known as in our like sort of like in your group and like in our group, as like the mother. You kind of you pick up, which is you don't like me saying.
I was like, I'm not your mother. I've never had no kids.
You don't.
Period. Like, I haven't had any. But I know they say that, but it's not really. But I suppose, like going back to what you were saying, I didn't really have any mentors when I came into this, apart from my friends. So we all kind of, even outside of just like even the other stylists that I knew, or the casting directors I knew, I just became friends with others, and we used to just share information and support each other in that way. But yeah, I know like some of the young ones say mother or nothing, but I don't really adhere to that at all. I don't really, but I just believe in like supporting, like I suppose it goes back to my background as well. Like if someone comes to the door, you let them in, you give them food. You know what I mean? It's the same situation. Like that's how I approach this whole thing. It's just like we can all eat. It's not just one of us eat. Like I don't really go from an individualist sort of like basis in my own being. So it's always just been like, how can we do this all together? Oh, you need this. Oh, I can hook you up with this person, or you know. And it's very like free, like the people that I'm around and in my community, we very much support each other. Like, oh, you need this project. Okay, how do we get this done? Oh, I know this person, they can possibly do this for you. And it's very just like sharing information in that way. Even if it's like one of the young ones or one of the older ones, it's all been like, you know, recently we just did like Maximilian Davis. That's like all of us that have come like and work together just to make sure Max can do his collection, you know. So it's just even like before, like Jason, we used to do this show called Jason's Closet, which was a TV show that we helped like funds, or like it was like Carrie Stacks's videos that like we helped raise money for just from the club night and stuff. So we actually used a lot of our resources just to fund in each other to create a community in that way. And I don't know, if someone rings me about something, I will help them. I've never had that kind of thing like, oh, I shouldn't share my resources because I need to keep them everything for myself. Obviously I understand like, you know, putting yourself gas mask on first, but at the same time, like, why not? Like, it's open
the door.
It's a part of my DNA. Like I'm for you, Chioma, it's like, I don't really see it any other way for me. Yeah,
you're a true giver. You're a true giver.
Yeah, just like, I don't know, I believe in humanity like a little bit. Yeah, I believe
just a little bit, yeah.
Well, you know, little, yeah.
So Rubric started as a, you know, we all have our different experiences. As I said, like I was very lucky to have great, amazing mentors to support me through this whole time. Although, you know, looking around in the room, I did, you know, the longer I stayed in the room, the more I realized that I was probably alone in that room, and then things were being said or whatever. But I was very lucky to have this community around me, and I was very lucky to find friends early on who I can rely on, and like. So, and I found my people basically, which started off by buying Days magazine, still back in Austria. So when we think about the Rubric is dedicated to the next generation. We wanna demystify the sort of the industry. We don't want to take the sort of like the excitement away, but we want to just make it more accessible. We want to break the barriers. We want to, you know, just open the gates is what I think we all do. So if we're talking about the next generation with this community sense in mind, what do we think, what is the advice that we can give to the next generation? How do you find your people?
We want Virgil to become the next Bernard Arnault. So hopefully you're taking notes, because I need a collection, because I'm going to want to rule fashion as usual. No, but you know, that's my advice. Okay, so.
I love you. It's like you. It's like
so.
It's like I'm like Oprah. Okay? I'm like Oprah. You get a house. You get a house. You get a house.
I'll take 2 houses. I'll take Pierre Cardin.
No, it would be amazing. You see, like Andre, imagine first show out of the pandemic, Andre Walker for Pierre Cardin.
Oh my God.
In Grand Palais or something, you know.
Oh my gosh, you guys don't even want to know about it. But you know, so I think it's really important to just keep going because obviously Virgil's in this incredible, like powerful and super creative. And this is what I love about Virgil as well. I think I wrote this down after an interview I did last week. I was like, you know, what's great about Virgil, the way he's approaching things, especially like, you know, over the past kind of year and a half, 2 years, I just feel like there's this maturity that's taking place in the confidence in the work. And, you know, I'm like, you know, I'm always in my little ivory tower. I call it ivory tower realness. Like, because it really is like such a bubble. But like, you know, I'm like, I hope he's taking notes on this Bernard Arnault dude. That's my interest. Not that, like, you know, because, you know, like what we learned from fashion is that we learned that people like Bill Cunningham can ride a bike until like he's 89 years old and then give out. Or you have so many different types of people, you know? And so it's really interesting for I think our community. And when I say our community, I don't want to say just Black people. I just want to say like alternative creatives, progressives, to, you know, understand the awareness of all these different types of, you know, multi-generational personality templates and otherwise.
Yeah,
you know?
What Andre's saying is so important, you know, for him to pull the lens back out on this conversation, to be cognizant of like the word problem we're trying to solve.
Yeah.
You know, we've all been on a lot of these Zooms and we've all sort of gone through the same sort of like story arc, you know, personal story. Then it ends with like, okay, what are we going to do? You know, what actually changed in the last hour and a half? And for me, what Andre is talking about is like an important story arc for us to solve the word problem that we know exists. It's like, we understand that minorities aren't built into systems. Like, you know, we understand that the status quo is made by the quo, the status of the quo, you know? And so what my brain is always, okay, like how do we solve this like crazy complex word problem where people on the fringe have like an extremely impossible task of making it to the center where the action happens. And then I swear, like I made up this theory while talking to A-Side again. I was like, what if it just is, it's a little bit of like a thought gap, right? Just say like it's a sci-fi film, right? And us as this community of you know, we're not even the same in this community. So that's not the barrier for happiness. But like, what if all of us on this Zoom call had enough power, we already passed the threshold to change the spaces that we live and operate in? And I think we do. You know, of course we don't. There's like pessimistic and optimistic, but I'm an optimistic person.
I think we do, Virgil.
Exactly, but that's what I was leading to. I was like, if you think you need media, you need creation, you need marketing energy, you need parties. You know, I love when Mischa talked about, you know, Eve Kamara is just behind me styling looks for the Louis show that I should be in. And I'm like, oh, you guys were like the party. We know how to sell it. We know the importance of the party. You guys are dialing in from London. Like the greatest gift to the whole rest of the world falls in your area codes. And that's important on our side of fashion. You know, like what's the history on that? Has that been properly documented the same way, you know, the Hacienda and Vivienne Westwood, you know, like like, what can we do after the Zoom call that sort of underscores the importance of minority contribution to fashion, for example? And then in 2021, how do we build an industry around that? With you know, like, just abstract sort of thinking. It's like, wait, if we have the tools, how does that change our mentality from sort of like looking for systems to change, but realizing that we have the tools already to create the system that, you know, I love, like, let me just end this to a quick exclamation point. The best news that I saw across my timeline was when Andre and myself and the countless others got accepted into the Met. And I saw Andre's look from his show 2 years ago in Paris with Pendleton. Yeah, 4 years ago in Pendleton. Like, seeing that again across my timeline is the exact change that I want to see, because that show was dreamlike, and now that it's cemented in an institution. But my question is, let's make more institutions that represent these moments that we all had in culture, music, fashion, that are our story.
Yeah, I mean, totally. I mean, wow. Yeah,
but Mischa, talk a bit about your parties. I need to get locked in. It's been like club culture. I'm starving. Like, talk about how you.
It's interesting what you were saying about how to just like maybe monetize through your community, because like 2 years ago we decided to do a PDA a PDA album. So it was all actually everyone that's ever DJ'd at the party donated a track, and we used that money towards one of the founding members, Carrie Stats, to start Association of Queer Ethnic Minorities. So she's used that money to start an organization helping other queer ethnic minorities. So we used the money from that to do that. And then we're actually at the moment doing a book, which this amazing photographer, Liz Johnson Oswald, she started coming to the party. She's like old school London photographer, legend in her own right. She just started coming randomly. She's in her 50s, and she met one of the young ones, and then they were like, oh, you should come to the party, like blah, blah, blah. I'd actually used one of her photographs on one of the flyers like years before, and then she just started coming and she was the only person we ever let take pictures in the party. So we're currently making a book of all her pictures and using that money to then put back into the community. So I know it's very small, but it's like the little things that you can do to, like, you know what I mean, and to support each other. So I think that's probably, you know, there's like, I never thought that we could make a book or make an album of music, but we did it. So it's just like, I think it doesn't necessarily matter how small or how big you do. It's like the little things always, you know, just like supporting each other. So but there will be a party next year, so I'll let you know. It's one last hurrah.
Nice.
For sure.
That's such a good party name. I love PDA.
Yeah. Because it can mean loads of things, isn't it? Like displays of affection or aggression. That's what we quite liked about it.
PDA rules. It's so like high school. I love it.
Yeah, exactly.
As once we're out of this pandemic, that's where we're gonna meet again in person, all of us. We take it on tour. Everywhere everyone is right now, we take it on tour.
Use a shake a leg.
All right, guys. Well, I think we're coming to an end now. Thank you guys so much for taking the time, and it means so much to us. And I've also made mental notes, because this is only the beginning. There's so much more to come that we want to do with Rubric, because I think one of the things that I think that is very important is just knowledge, just putting out the knowledge about this industry. We just need to like rummage through it and demystify the whole thing and give kids the knowledge of the different ways of how all of us have joined this industry, and how they can, that it doesn't have to be a completely linear, you know, sort of like path. You don't have to have a friend in the industry. You don't have to have all these things. And we're going to build this support system, and we're going to also we're going to work on this sort of like bringing, because there's a huge history. I think it's always, a friend of mine said this to me when we started this. She said, you can't be what you can't see. But for me, looking into this Zoom here now, it makes me feel so hopeful, because when I grew up, there was one person who looked like me on TV in Austria, one person. And I feel like this is something good that's going to come out of this whole shit year that we just had. It's just, there's some good things coming out of it. And I'm definitely going to be knocking on all of your doors pretty soon again for more of this.
One last thing, one quick thing. I think
Please.
Also, you know, like people that sound like you are great as well. You know, like I think they don't necessarily need to look like me in order for me to feel comfortable. So I think that's like, that's something to keep in mind as well. You know, like there's like-mindedness, I think, inhabits a lot of different, you know, vehicles.
Yeah.
And,
Yes.
I think that's really important, because if someone is only going to feel comfortable because someone else looks like them, we know that template already. So I think we can review that with insight and, you know, hindsight or whatever it is. You know what I mean? You know, I think there's, it's always evolving, you know? So yeah, I think that's an important thing, because I don't want my little cousin to think that because someone looks like her, that's the goal. I'd much rather her be attentive to the point of like listening and hearing what the real substance is about from the person, than actually idolizing the image.
Yeah.
You know, the material. Whoosh.
Yeah, that's how we build making it. That's how we're going to bring then change is long term. A great finished thought. We use always.
Beautiful.
Thank you, Nell, for being such a
thank you.
host.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for taking the time, guys.